morning. This is VirtualPBX-admin training. Just getting set up here and making sure everything is transmitting properly. And looks like we are set to go. All right, so on your screen here, you're seeing our Dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. You need your email address that you signed up with or that your admin used to create your user, your password, which you hopefully got via email, and then your account name, which is typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you didn't get the email with your password or you forgot, that happens, you can click on Forgot Your Info here. It'll flip the login info. It's still going to need your email address. And then you need to either input your company name, right, the account name, or one of your company phone numbers, right, either or. And then you click on the Reset Password. The system will then send you an email and guide you through changing your password. Now, once you change that password, the system will appear to let you navigate through. In fact, you probably will be able to go to like one page, but then it'll log you out and then make you log back in with that new password. And then once you do that, you probably want to click on the Remember Me, and then you can get logged in. Now, this is our test account, one of our test accounts. So the first time you log in, so like ever the Dash, or it's like you just signed up, what have you, what you're actually going to be taken to is a page that looks like this. This is your user information page. The Dash wizard will pop up, giving you highlights of what certain things are. Typically, what people change here is their own time zone, possibly their display for the date and time. You also have the account level setting here, over here on the left. And again, the main thing that people change here is the account level time zone. Also, on a live account, you will have extra information on the left for your billing related information. This is where you can change things like your credit card information. You should be able to pull up your invoices. You can see your current service plan, and you can also adjust or input your billing contact info. When you're done here, you just click on Close over here to the top right. And then you'll be taken back to our dashboard page. Now, along the top, anytime you click on your name, you'll get back to that account page that we were just on. Over here to the right, you've got the little question mark icon, and then you've got these other sublinks beneath it. So chat with us, that will open up a chat window so you can talk to our support team, so that they can help you navigate through or getting things configured. The Learn More will take you to our support pages, which will have guides as well as links to videos, including a recording of this training video. The online store takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, so you can buy things like a VoIP phone, a router, etc. And then web phone link, this shows up once you've added a web phone to your user. And then this link opens up a new tab. It goes to webphone.virtualpbx.net, and it allows you to use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls directly from that browser. We've got the hamburger or the menu icon here, 3 horizontal lines. So we're currently on the dashboard, and we have these other areas here. Some of these are add-ons that have additional fees, like ACD queues start at $15. Some of them don't, like Blacklist. This is just an additional feature that you have access to. But these are typically all admin features except for the user portal. Right, every user on your account will have their own user portal, and then anyone you add to your ACD queues would also have access to the ACD queues. However, only admins will be able to change them or add them. Over here, over on the left, where it says Dashboard and going down, these are the core features of Dash, which we'll be going over in detail. And then here in the middle, we've got total users. So these are all the people on the account who make and receive calls. Then I've got my total devices and a breakdown of the types of devices. Right, so cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. Next up, we have the web phone, which I just talked about. Soft phone software application, making you receive calls via your internet connection. Right, so the web phone is a specialized type of soft phone. And then soft phone can cover anything from the VirtualPBX soft phone app to apps from other companies like Counterpath or what have you. The SIP phone, this is a physical VoIP phone, right? So it sits on a desk, most likely. There are multiple kinds of VoIP phones on the market. SIP is just one kind of a VoIP phone. So if you're out shopping, you just want to make sure whatever VoIP phone you're looking at, it says it's SIP compliant or SIP compatible, and then you have a chance to make it work with us. And in terms of on Dash, when it says it's a SIP phone, that's a phone that's been auto-provisioned on the account. And we'll go into that in more detail later. And then lastly, at least among my devices, is landline, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now you notice down here, I have unregistered devices. That means the system knows that 16 of my devices, likely a soft phone, web phone, or SIP phone, is not connected. Right, so we can't send calls to that device. That could be simply because someone didn't plug in their phone yet, or they're having an internet problem of some type, or they have a network setting problem. All right, next up, we've got total numbers. Did not mean to do that. Let's go back here. So total numbers, these are all the phone numbers on my account. These are phone numbers that customers can dial to get to my system. Now we have that broken down a little bit here in terms of assigned numbers, right? Means it's in use. You can also have spare numbers, meaning it's a number on your account, but it's not going anywhere. You're just holding on to it for right now. Bear in mind, your account includes anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers as part of your monthly plan price. And then if you go over that allotment, it can be anywhere from, I believe, $1.49 to $4.99 per month per phone number. Again, that's going to depend on your plan. The breakdown we have here is USDID and US toll-free, right? So toll-free, 800 number, right? 888-877 all the way down to 833. Right, USDID is just a US local number, right? So a number that's in, say, Las Vegas, Nevada versus a number in, say, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, right? Just, you can have numbers in different parts of the country. If you're interested in international numbers, then you're going to want to contact our porting team. You can email porting, P-O-R-T-I-N-G, at virtualpbx.com, and let them know the city and country that you're interested in, and they'll let you know, A, if it's available, or if there are further requirements that are necessary. Right? Some countries require proof of presence within that city. Like Germany, I know, for example, requires that proof of presence. Some don't care. Others want like proof of incorporation and a bunch of other documentation. But if there are any kind of requirements like that, our porting team will let you know, and then you can proceed. All right, conference bridges, I have 6. That's just saying that I've enabled 6 of my users to host a conference. Over here to the right, we've got our main numbers, right? So these 4 phone numbers all ring to the same location, right? They have the same routing, and they all have the same main greeting, for example. Conference numbers, you can have multiple. I just have the one associated here. Once you've assigned a conference number, then you can enable conferencing on your individual users. Fax box number, you can have one fax box number. Once you've added this enables faxing on the system, right? This becomes your inbound fax number, right? So anyone who wants to send a fax to you, sends it to this number. And then you can also do email to fax to send a fax out. The company directory, this is a download link. Basically downloads a text file, shows your users with their extension numbers. The soft phone directory is also a download link. This is for use with our desktop soft phone application. So you download this file, then you upload it to the VirtualPBX desktop softphone. This allows you to see the status of your staff members who are using the softphone from VirtualPBX. So like I can see if my coworker John is available, right? He's not on a call. I can call him directly from the softphone. Just click on him. And so it's an easy way to see presence if everyone is using the softphone. All right, store discount code. Basically, just by being a customer, you get a discount in our web store. And then you've got the account realm. This is used in a couple things. One, it's used to program a third-party application or device, right? So if you're using a softphone from Counterpath, you would need the account realm along with some other information to use that software with us. Part of the provisioning process. You also use this for faxing out. So on Dash, to send a fax out, it's an email to fax service. So you create a new email. In the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area code or phone number that you're faxing to, a little @ symbol, and then you put your account realm. And then you attach a PDF or a TIFF file to that email, and you hit send. You don't need to put in a subject line. You don't need to put in any text in the body of the email, because all the system does is it gets the email, it grabs the PDF or the attachment, whatever attachment, and then tries to fax that, right? Converts that to a fax, sends it to that fax phone number. When it comes to faxing, you get one attachment per email, right? You can attach multiple, but the system will only send one, and I can't tell you which one it's going to send. It'll change from time to time, at least when I've tested. And then if you want to make sure it's a PDF or a TIFF file. All right, up here we've got the company caller ID. You can select any of your main numbers. Unfortunately, my streaming software here is not always letting me show all the pull downs. But you can select any, in this case, any of the 4 of my main numbers. And this becomes your default for the account, right? So whatever number you select here, that becomes your quote main company number. Down here, you've got the company caller ID name or CNAME. You can input up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. And what this does is after you click Save Changes, that information gets transmitted to the carriers who support CNAME. So then when you pick up a VoIP phone, make an outbound call, we will send this information out as part of your caller ID when you make an outbound call. Now, a couple caveats to keep in mind. One, and the most important one, is not every carrier supports CNAME. It's not something we can make them do. So it's possible when you make an outbound call, your call will route through one of those carriers that doesn't support it. So that means your company CNAME information does not get to your destination. Now, this is typically from smaller or regional carriers, right? The big national carriers all support it, but it's those small regional carriers that typically do not. And sometimes you have to route calls through some of these carriers just to get your caller to get through. Even for the carriers who do support it, it's not a high priority, right? So if they have heavier than expected call volume, your CNAME information may not go through because they're more concerned about connecting the call first and then sending the caller ID, followed by this company caller ID name. Obviously, if there's some sort of maintenance issue or an outage, again, they're more concerned about getting calls connected. Oh, also, once you click Save Changes here, it takes about 3 business days for that CNAME information to get updated with the other carriers, so that's something to keep in mind. Down below here, we've got the company emergency information, or E911. Again, this is associated with this specific phone number. You want to make sure this address is correct because, again, if someone picks up a VoIP phone, dials 911, this is the address information that gets transmitted to emergency services. So you want to make sure they get sent to the right place. And then any changes here, you go ahead and click on Save Changes. Next up, we've got hold music. So hold music on Dash is defined as once a call has connected to a user, and then that user presses hold on their VoIP phone. That's when the hold music will play. Now on Dash, you can upload your own file. Click on the upload button there, click browse to find it on your computer, and then click on the little upload or up arrow icon here to the right, and then you would click on save changes. Dash will play back .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. It is recommended that you record in mono, not in stereo, and that you keep the file under 1 megabyte. We have some other recommendations also on our guides on the website when it comes to the main reading. I believe it's 16-bit PCM is one of those recommendations. Now, the main thing is you do want to make sure it's recorded in mono. I've had some customers have no problems uploading stereo files and it plays fine. Others, when they try to call in and listen to it, they hear silence or they hear static, right? And that's because in general, when you listen over the phone, right, a phone has one speaker. So it's a monaural device. That's why you want to record in mono. All right, now we've got hours over here to the right. However, that's actually a subsection of the main number. So let's just go to main number. There we go. Yeah, sometimes Dash does take a little while to load pages, at least to me, but that's because I'm impatient. All right, up here at the top, we've got the main company numbers. Any number you decide you're not going to use, you can unassign it. Right? Click on the red unassign button there. And when I do that, I removed it as a main number, but it's still on my account, right? It just became a spare number instead. Now, you can add from spare numbers, right? So that 775 number I just unassigned. I can also buy a new number, right? So I can set a local number, and you just need to select an area code. So we can check C323, see if there's anything there. And then you have a list of available numbers. You can scroll down and see more numbers that are available. Click add on a number you like. See it's added to your cart. You see the number is listed here. You also have the option to remove it, or you can just simply buy numbers. And now the system's making sure that number was still available, and then putting it on your account and activating it. And you can do the same process on any place where you can add a number. So like you can add it directly to a user under their phone number field, to a ring group, excuse me. You can add it to queues. I think I'm forgetting something else. All right, and there's the number. Now, any phone number, you can also click on the little gear icon. You can update the caller ID for that phone number. Right, so you can put the caller ID name here. You can also allow inbound caller ID company caller ID name to come in. You can adjust the E911 for that specific phone number. Right, so that gives an additional address option for you for any of your VoIP phones. Prepend, this is a VoIP phone feature. You can add additional text in front of the caller ID for calls that come in on this phone number, and it will show up on your staff members' VoIP phones as part of the caller ID, so they have an idea what the call is about. All right. Then next up, we've got the office hour strategy. For new signups, you start off as 24-hour open office. Many customers choose custom office hours. For each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark. And then for those days that you're open, you include your open hours in 24-hour or military time in these boxes here to the right. Down here towards the bottom, you can put a check mark here to say that you're closed for lunch, and then you can also include your lunch hours. Next up, we've got office holidays. So if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here to the left. And then on the right, you have add holiday. You've got single day, date range, and advanced. So each one of those will create a new row. And then so single day, for example, we have here President's Day. You give it a name in the first field, and then you select the month and the date, which we'll probably have to update that. For date range, like we have up here for Christmas, and you give it a start date and an end date. The main caveat here is there's no year indicator. So for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, you want to do those as single day. You don't want a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. The system will put you in closed mode all year. And then this retreat here, this is an example of the advanced holidays where I'm saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're on holiday, right? Company picnic day. Again, you just give it a name, you select the month, and then this is an option of like, first through fourth as well as last, and then day of the week. And then you click on Save Changes. All right, incoming call handling. So for these 4 main numbers I have up here, during my open hours, this is how I'm having my call route. Notice I have tabs here for after hours and holiday, right? So, and I can do different routing for each one of these times. But we'll start here with open hours. So all my main numbers come in right now. They're going to my virtual receptionist. I click on the virtual receptionist link. It's going to open up a new window. And now this is where I have my menu options as well as my greeting options, right? So on the left, main menu, this is what people press on the phone to navigate through my phone system. If I click on add route, I can then have a default route, and this is typically a pull down. You basically select 0 through 9, and then you say, where is it going to go? Right, so here I have it going to, looks like a queue. Actually, I'm probably going to 2 different queues here. I have this one going to a voicemail box. All right, I can have it go to, scroll up here, the Smart Directory. I can have it go to any specific user. I can have it go to any queue. Right, I can have it go to a specific phone, right, a specific device. You can go to a media file, basically play a greeting file of some sort, like these are our hours of operation kind of thing, or here are directions to our location. You can send it to a ring group, which is like a department, and then advanced call flows if you want to make use of submenuing, and then to a specific voicemail box. So yeah, on Dash, you can do what's called submenuing. That's if you have multiple auto attendants as part of your plan. If that's something you're interested in doing, you're going to want to talk to our services team to make sure you're on the right plan. Now over here on the right, you've got your greeting options. Text to speech, you simply type in a greeting, you would click update, and then you would click save, and then save changes. This is limited to like 350 characters, I believe, currently. So that's something to keep in mind. You can upload your own file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Right, just choose the file. And then click update, and then save and save changes. You can choose from an existing file that's already on the system. Right? So let's say you've already uploaded a bunch. You can find it from this list. Excuse me. You can record it over the phone. Now, by default, the system is, when it says pick up a registered phone, it's talking about a VoIP phone. Now, down here, you notice under settings, this one right here, allow outside recording. If I turn this on, then you're saying cell phones and landlines can call in and record a greeting, the main greeting, excuse me. So, say I turned on outside recording, so now I can use a cell phone or landline. You call your main number, and when you hear the greeting play, you enter in this PIN number and then the system will walk you through recording a new greeting. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. This PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So this is my open hours greeting. So that means this PIN number only works during my open hours, meaning I can only use it during my open hours to change my open hours greeting. Right. So if let's say if my hours of operation are from 9 to 5 and it's 7 p.m., I need to change my normal greeting. When I call in, this PIN number won't work because by then I'm already in my after hours. Right. So if I want to change my greeting for open hours and it's already 7 p.m., then I would need to change my open hours so it's past 7 p.m., hit save, come back, call in again, and then I can use that PIN number. Another thing to keep in mind about recording over the phone is that when you record it over the phone, it overwrites the existing file. So if you've just signed up, you don't have to worry about it, right? The first time you call in, you don't have a greeting file in place. You can just record a new greeting, and it'll give it a generic file name and put it in place. But let's say, for instance, you've been using an account for a little while, and you've got a greeting called Greeting A, right? Or say your January 2021 greeting. That's the file name that you have. And then you call in, you enter this PIN number, you record. Right? The file name will still say, January 2021, but the content was just overwritten with whatever you just recorded over the phone. So that's something to bear in mind. Professional recording services. When you click orders here, this will take you to Snap Recordings, which is a company we've partnered with. They have about 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They have various versions of English, French, and Spanish, so you can do multilingual greetings. They handle their own pricing and their own billing. Right? Typically, they ask for a credit card, and then they deliver to you via email, so then you can then upload your own file. All right, settings. Number of retries on misdial. Basically, how many times can someone hit an invalid menu option before the system either disconnects the call or sends them to the default route, right? So if you've got a default route and someone messes up a couple times in this case, right, after that last error, it'll send them to the directory. Right, dialing timeout. This basically tells us how long to wait after it hears a button press before it assumes that that person is done, right? So I press 4, the system will wait 1 second, and then say, oh, they're done, and then send me on to wherever number 4 goes. Allow outside recording. We just went over that under the record over the phone. And then you also have allow dialing extensions. So if you have this on, if someone gets to your main greeting, they can enter an extension number if they know it, and then the system will transfer it. Right? If you turn this off, it doesn't matter if they enter an extension. They're not allowed to. They can only use your menu options. Right? Just one thing is I don't typically recommend having a default route, and that's just because of robodialers. Right? So if you don't have a default route, right, call comes in, they hear your greeting play, and they'll either press a menu option or go enter an extension number if you allow it to get to who they want to speak to. Right? So an actual person will press a menu button at the very least. A robodialer doesn't know what to press, so it'll just hang out for a couple plays of your greeting, and then the call will disconnect. So you're minimizing the impact of robodialers by not having a default route. Now, any changes you make, whether it's under the main greeting, under the main menu, or your settings, you click on Save, and then you need to click Save Changes here as well. All right, the other options here, call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob, and if Bob isn't able to pick up, it goes to the virtual receptionist. So what this is essentially you're giving a staff member, in this case Bob, or multiple staff members, if you select a ring group, for example, a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to get it for whatever reason, then the inbound caller goes to the virtual receptionist, which again you would need to set up if you hadn't already, but it uses the same one we already just saw. Right. Now this pull down here where Bob's name is, again, you've got the options of sending it to queues. You can send it to a specific device, You can send it to a media file if you want, so then a greeting will play before it goes to the virtual receptionist where another greeting could play. You can send it, again, to a ring group, so that would be multiple people have a chance to answer the call, depending on your group settings, as well as advanced call flows. Third option here, call comes in, again, offering it to Bob. If Bob's not able to pick up, it goes to Bob's voicemail. Right? Again, same options. You can send it to any particular user, a queue, a group, a media file, other users, etc. And then the end result, there's actually one additional option. All the way at the bottom here, you can say skip the voicemail. So in terms of skip the voicemail, this I typically see on holidays for customers. Basically, call comes in, skip it, send it to voicemail, so that the inbound caller can leave a message. And then this last option, advanced call flow. This is, again, if you have multiple auto attendants, you can choose to have the call go to one of your other attendants. Now, the after hours tabs and the holiday tabs, again, you have the same basic options. The main thing to remember is that the virtual receptionist is different for each one, right? So you can have different menu options. You likely would want a different greeting just to let the inbound caller know, hey, it's after hours. But each can be unique. Any changes? Again, click on Save Changes. All right, main conference number. You can add for spare. You can buy numbers, right? Buy new numbers. So you can have multiple conference numbers. If you click on Custom Greeting, this is actually a text-to-speech greeting. You would just click Enable and type in what you want to say and click Save. Even without a text-to-speech greeting there, the system will say, welcome to the conference. Please enter your conference number, and then it will prompt you to enter the PIN number to actually enter in the conference room. Main fax box number. Again, you would, if you didn't have one already signed, you'd have an option to add from spare or buy new. Now, on this account, the fax box is actually broken. So on your account, when you click Edit Fax Box, it'll open up a new window, and there'll be two fields in that window. The first field is to enter in an email address for the inbound notification, right? Basically, who's getting notified that a new fax came in. That person or that email address will get sent an email saying you have a new fax, and there'll be an attachment in that email that they can just double-click on and look at the PDF. The second field is for outbound permission, right? So who's allowed to send a fax out. And especially useful if you own your own company's email domain, right? So you own @abccleaners.com versus you have abccleaners@gmail.com, right? You don't want to put @gmail.com there because then anyone with a Gmail address could send out a fax on your account if they knew, your realm, etc. But in that field, you put your company domain, then anyone at your company who has an email address can then send a fax out, right? They just need to know that format, the +1, area code, and phone number, the @ symbol, your account realm, and then they simply attach a PDF. And they don't have to be a user on your account to send a fax out in that instance. All right, auto attendance. So this allows you to have multiple auto attendants on the account. This is a feature on some plans. So if this is something you're interested in, you're going to want to talk to our service team. There's two primary purposes of having multiple attendants. The first is as a submenu option off of your main number, right? So you can say in your main greeting, you would say, hey, press 1 for English, +2 for Spanish, right? Those are menu options that would then go to separate attendants, right? You would have press 1 would go to your English attendant, which would then have a new greeting in English with menu options for the English speaker customers, right? Whereas when people press 2, they go to a second attendant with a Spanish greeting with the menu options for your Spanish customers, right? And so your English and Spanish attendants would be here under the auto attendant section. The other reason you would do this is because you have multiple businesses that are on the same account, and each one of those businesses you want to have their own phone number and they have their own main greeting, right? So different greetings for different phone numbers. So to add an attendant, you click up here at the top, add attendant, you give it a name, and you give it an extension number, and then you would click on create. Once you've created an attendant, you can click on the name of the attendant, and then here you have the, where it says, it's a little bit grayed out, but it says unavailable in main menu. This means it's a standalone attendant, right? Now, if I go down here to Niner Nation, you see, boom, it's available in the main menu. This means it's an option to become a sub-menu, right? So it doesn't have to be standalone. It can actually be a subset of one of my other attendants. Click on the phone number box. You can add phone numbers to an attendant, right? Either add from spare or buy a new local or toll-free number. Click on the extension box. You can add additional extensions. You can unassign an existing extension. And then you've got the little wrench icon under settings. So you click on that. And then you have open hours, after hours, and holidays. Now these hours and holidays, these are based off of your main number settings, right? So the main number open hours that you set, this applies to all of your other attendants. And then you only have the option to have them go to the virtual receptionist here, but they can, again, have their own menu options, their own greetings, etc. All right, devices. Shows all your devices on the account. Green means it's registered, / we can send, the system can send a call to it. Red means it's not registered or unregistered. And then black means it's been disabled. You can add devices up here at the top. First one here, we've got SIP phone, right? So this is that physical VoIP phone, sits on your desk. You find the manufacturer, and then you find the specific model. Go over here to Cisco. And then you give it a name, right? Angela's phone, for example. And then you enter in the MAC address of that phone, right? Each phone has a unique MAC address. Typically, this is a sticker on the back of the phone. But if you have the phone powered on, you can also typically click on the menu and get to status or general settings. And one of those is going to be the MAC address. You would then write that down and then enter it up here in the dashboard. And then you would click on create device at the bottom and then assign it to one of your staff members. Now, as far as your dashboard is concerned, the system is done. However, to get the phone to actually work, you're going to need to log into that phone's web user interface, right, the web UI. Typically, that's done by finding the IP address of the VoIP phone and entering in that IP address in the address bar of your web browser. Yeah, you log into that has an admin, right, as username and password to get in, which your phone should be in the manual of the phone. And then you would go to the auto provisioning section and enter in a URL. Now, that specific information you can find on our website. If you go under the dash support pages, on the right-hand side under VoIP phones, you're looking for adding or auto provisioning phones. And it'll have screenshots and the specific URL to add to that phone. Basically, what it does is tell the phone, hey, get on the internet, go to this address. It does so. It exchanges this MAC address information with the server. Server says, oh, I know what you are and what account you're on. Here's your config file. Your phone should then reboot a couple of times as it's downloading the config file and applying that config file, right, and saving those changes. After that point, the phone should then show up green on the display here, and then you can make and receive calls, as well as use a lot of the phone's built-in features. Cell phone and landline are basically the same. You give it a name. You put in the plus sign, the number 1, then the area code and phone number, and then you assign it to one of your staff members, and then you click on Create Device. Now, when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or a landline, what happens is, that phone will ring, and you or your staff member will pick up. Then you'll hear, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1." Right? When you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take this call. And then it will connect to you. If you are a vConsole customer who's migrated to Dash, this is like pressing the pound key to accept the call, except you only need to do it on cell phones and landlines. Now, that doesn't work for every instance. For example, some customers make use of adding a cell phone device because they're sending a call to, say, an automated answering service, right, for like their after hours, as an example. In that instance, having the automated system or service press 1 is not going to work. So what you would want to do is go here to the advanced section here. And here you basically, under the devices page, you click on the little wrench icon under edit. You go to advanced and select options. And then you would click here, right? Put a check mark in front of allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now when we send a call to this phone number, the phone will ring. You don't have to press 1 to accept the call. Right? Once we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call. And you're speaking to the other person. Right? So great for an automated answering service, which is probably having additional prompts for the inbound caller to press. If this is actually going to your cell phone, then if your cell phone voicemail picks up, right, we still connect the call. That's still a connected call as far as the system is concerned. So that inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail box. Some people want that, some people don't want that at all. So something to bear in mind. The other thing that people are interested in is the keep original caller ID, right? So customer Mary is calling into your system. It goes to your cell phone. On your cell phone, right, the phone number that shows up as inbound caller ID is Mary's cell phone number. You don't know that number. You're like, I don't know. That's probably some, telemarketer, not going to answer. So then customer Mary ends up in voicemail, and you have to get back to her later. Now, if you uncheck this, keep original caller ID, what happens instead is when customer Mary calls you, the phone number that shows up on your cell phone is your main company number. Right? So then you know, oh, hey, this is a work call, and you'll take it. And what I mean by the main company number, if we go back to the dashboard here, that's this one under here under the caller ID, right? This whatever number is selected here, that is what's going to show up under the caller ID when you have the keep original caller ID unchecked. All right, soft phone. First, there's this message basically saying, hey, because of wireless technology, your E911 information may not be accurate. So please keeping that in mind before you dial 911 from a soft phone. Now, by default, this is set up to use a third-party application, right? So you're using something from Counterpath. Or say your physical VoIP phone didn't show up under the manufacturer's list. Right, so then you would want to use this to program either that soft phone application or that VoIP phone that didn't show up under the SIP device list. So you give it a name. You're going to want to copy and paste the SIP username. And then if you click on the SIP password box, it'll show the SIP password. You're going to want to copy and paste that. And then you want to copy and paste account realm. Right, assign this to a user, click create device. There's three pieces of information, right? The SIP username, password, and the realm. You're going to need those to program or provision that software application or that other VoIP phone. Now, we do have some guides on how to do this on our website under Dash Support, but we don't have guides for every soft phone or other VoIP phone on the market just because there's too many of them. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone application, then right here where it says use third-party application, that's grayed out. If you click on that, it'll flip it to say use VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, you assign it to somebody, and then you click on create device. When you do that, assuming you've assigned it to a user, then that person gets an email saying, hey, your soft phone's been created. Here's your username. Here's your password. If they're using the mobile version of the soft phone app, they can simply download it from the relevant app store and then log in, and they're ready to go. If you're interested in using the desktop version of the app, you do need to order that through the web store, because there's a license fee associated with that, which is currently, I think it's listed at $39.99. It might be a little bit less now. But then once you've made that transaction, then you'll get the download links for the Mac OS or Windows version of the softphone app. And then web phone, again, you've got that wireless warning message, but you give it a name and you assign it to an owner, and then you click on create device. Now the web phone, right, is at webphone.virtualpbx.net. That uses the same login information as your Dash login information, right? So when you log in at dash.virtualpbx, right, that email address, password, and account name, that's the same information you use on webphone.virtualpbx.net to log in. And then you use Chrome and Firefox to make and receive calls. Now, for the web phone, you do want to use that on a computer. It's problematic using that on a mobile device. All right, greetings. This is the greetings manager. Shows your greetings and their names. The source, right? TTS is text to speech. Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means you recorded over the phone. You have the option here to download the file, so then you can listen to it on your computer. And the little wrench icon, you can change the name. You can delete the greetings. You also have the option up here to add files, right? So you can upload a bunch of .wav or .mp3s. Just record, again, make sure they're recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. All right, groups, shorthand for ring groups. Click add group. You give it a name and an extension number, and then you click and drag everyone you want to be in that group. And then you click on create group. Once the group's created, you can click on its name. You can change the name, and then you've got the group call attempts, right? This is the number of times an inbound caller can ring through to everybody in the group, right? Default is 1. You can click on the little arrows here to the right to increase it if you want it to. And then you click on Save Changes. Members, when you click on the members box, right, you can add additional users down here at the bottom. But up here at the top, you've got your ring timeout. So this right here at the far right, 120 seconds. That's the default ring time for calls coming into the group. Over here on the right, you can remove members from the group, and then you can adjust the ring time. Right, these are all sliders. So you can click and drag them across. So I'm going to set this up right now to a blast ringing setup. So it's ringing everybody for the entire time until someone picks up. If I decide I don't like that, I can click distribute. So now it's ringing these people in order. If I want to change the order, I just click and drag on a person's name. Right, and then I can click distribute again, or I can reuse the sliders if I want to. You click on the extension box, so you can add additional extensions or remove an existing extension. On the phone numbers box, you've got the option to add from spare numbers or buy new numbers. And then you've got group features. All right, so ringback, this is essentially hold music for the inbound caller as they're waiting for a staff member to pick up. If you click enable, then you can upload your own file. Again, .wav, .mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. One thing to keep in mind is this file, you want to make sure the system won't automatically loop the file for you. So you want to make sure the duration of the file exceeds this, right, 120 seconds. Next action, if no one is able to answer, Then what do you want the system to do with the caller? In this case, I'm sending it to a voicemail box. But you see here, we've got plenty of options, right? You can send it back to your main menu, right? So your virtual receptionist. You can send it to a call queue. This is a new feature, by the way. This wasn't here originally. You can send it to a specific device. And you can send it to another group, or you can send it to a specific user or to any voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're just allowing your users to make use of call forwarding from their VoIP phones. Caller ID prepend. This is a VoIP phone feature. So again, you can add either additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their VoIP phones to give your staff members a heads up about what the call is about. Numbers. This basically takes you to your numbers manager. It shows your numbers on the account and where they're going. Right, you can click on the gear icon on any of these numbers to adjust the caller ID, the E911, and prepend. If you click on the spare numbers tab, you can see that you have a spare number here. If you don't want this number on the account at all, right, then you would click on the little box in front of the number, and now you've got the option to delete the number. Click on continue, and now the number is gone. Right, you can additionally, you can buy numbers here, right, local or toll free, and you can also port numbers here. Now, port just means you're moving a number from one carrier to another. So in this case, it would be from, say, AT&T to VirtualPBX. And then you begin a new port request. You give it a name. You say it's local or toll free. Then you click on next. And then it wants you to upload a copy of your bill. And then as it goes through the process, it's going to walk you through downloading a blank letter of agency, or LOA, and then gives you the opportunity to upload the completed and signed LOA, as well as some caveats about the port process. And then you submit the documents. And once you click submit, right, and upload those documents, you'll get an automated email right away saying, hey, you've successfully submitted your port request. By the next business day at the latest, you should get another email from our porting team saying, yes, we've received your documents and we've processed them yet. Here's some things to keep in mind about porting. And from that point forward, our porting team will communicate with you via email, let you know what's going on, right? If there's a rejection notice, we'll let you know the port request got rejected and the reason that we were given, right? Like address mismatch is the most common, or unauthorized signature, right? But that's the amount of detail that we get from the other carrier, right? To get any more details, you would have to call your current carrier to find out what exactly is wrong, or to get the updated information. But essentially, once we submit the port request, local numbers can take anywhere from a day to 2 to 3 weeks on average, right? So like if you're porting a Google Voice number that you've already unlocked, that can typically port by the next business day. Other times it takes 2 to 3 weeks, assuming there's nothing wrong, right? There's no rejections or anything like that. Toll-free numbers, they're typically in the 3 to 5 business day range, assuming there's no problem. One thing to keep in mind about the LOA, letter of agency, on that form, it asks you for your company information, right? That company information should match what your current carrier has on file for you, right? So say with VirtualPBX, you're abccleaners.com, but with AT&T, you're XYZ Cleaners, right? So on the LOA, when it says company name, you should put XYZ Cleaners, right? And whatever address they have on file for you, it does need to be signed. Right, now that can be a digital signature. You don't have to print it out and hand sign it if you don't want to, right? Either way will work, but you can't simply just type in a name in both, the name and where it says signature. That will get rejected and then cause a delay. So something to keep in mind there. All right, users page shows all your users on the account. The little gray person icon is your standard user. Blue suit is a system admin. If you click Add User, you enter in their first and last name, enter in their email address used for login. That email address has to be unique for each user, right? Then you create a password for them, and then you create an extension number for them. So on this test account, we started with extension 1000, so it's providing me that the next available extension in that series is 1029, but I can change it, right? I can make it 8210 if I wanted to. And then we've got these additional options down here, right? Create a voicemail box for the user, right? So that's intrinsically tied to that user. You can include the user in the company directory, and you can always change that later. Send emails to an alternate address. So by default, whenever a user gets like a voicemail, it's automatically sent to the email address used to log in. If you don't want it to go there, then you would check mark this here, send to alternate address, and enter in a different email address to send those voicemails to, or their password recovery to, or their cell phone credentials to, right? And then probably the most important one, in my opinion, set credentials to this user, so that way they can log in. When you're done, you click on Create User, or if you need to add other people, you create User and add another. Now, if you click on a user's name, right, you can change their name. You can change their credentials, right? So you can change their email address or their password. You can also click here to send the password reset directly to a user. The voicemail box PIN. If your users are going to have VoIP phones, you don't have to set up PIN numbers for the voicemail boxes. Once they have their VoIP phone, they can hit *98 to log in directly to the voicemail box, and the system will prompt them to enter in a PIN number or create a PIN number for their voicemail, as well as recording a greeting for that voicemail box. But for your cell phone or landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them. Right, here's the option to send to an alternate address, as well as the company directory. Over here where it says user, this is a pull down, so you can actually change a user to an admin or vice versa. Next up, we've got the time zone, so you can set the specific time zone for a user. Third is the display language within the website, so you can change it to English, French, German, or Russian. Ringing timeout, this is how much time the system will try to reach the devices on a user. So 20 seconds is the default, and that's plenty of time to get to, say, a landline or most VoIP phones. Right? The reason you would go to 45 would be if this is someone who's only using a cell phone. Right? In terms of how a PBX system handles calls, right? So calls comes in, and then we need to send it to a landline, for example, right? So we send the call over to the landline company. That telecom company goes, oh, we know where that phone is. Boom, sends the phone, that call to that phone, right? Versus call comes in, we need to send it to a cell phone, right? So we send it to the cell phone carrier. Cell phone carrier goes, hold on a second, we need to find them first, right? Bounces signal off cell towers, finds you, and then the call gets sent to you. It's that delay of trying to find you is why you would need more time to have calls go to, or have more ring time if you're having calls go to a cell phone versus a landline. All right, if you click on the extension box, you can add additional extensions to a user. Phone numbers, again, users can have their own phone numbers. You can add multiple, right, by from numbers. Devices, you can add directly devices here, right? The SIP phone, it's the same process as before, as I showed under devices. And then user features. So caller ID number, this only applies if a user has their own phone number. And when you click on enable and save changes, whenever this person makes an outbound call from their VoIP device, this is the caller ID that shows up versus the main number. Call forwarding. Call forwarding, this is something users can set up themselves via the user portal or from their VoIP phones. But basically it's saying, hey, I'm not going to be at my normal phone, send calls to this other device when you turn it off. Failover mode means the system can detect when a VoIP phone goes offline, then failover mode will kick in. So a call happens to come into a user when their VoIP phone went offline. Let's say the dog ran by, yanked out the Ethernet cable from the VoIP phone. Right? Call comes in, you've got failover mode enabled. It will then ring to this other phone number automatically. So that way, your salesperson or your staff member can get the call still, handle the issue or the call, and then go, what the heck happened to my VoIP phone? Hot desking is a VoIP-related feature. You enter in a hot desk ID, and if you want to include a PIN, you can do so. This is for use where you have staff members who may not be at a set desk or set location each day of the week. Right, so on Tuesday, I'm sitting at desk number 7. I sit down, I pick up the VoIP phone at that desk, I hit *11, that turns on hot desking. The system asks me for my hot desk ID number, which I then give, and then the PIN number, right? I just push the buttons on the phone. And then I'll say calls will now be sent to this device. So now anyone who's trying to call me, it will ring at the phone I'm sitting at, right, at desk number 7. Right, tomorrow, or at the end of my day, I hit *12 on the phone. I pick up the handset, hit *12, that turns off hot desking. Right. Then tomorrow I roll into the office, someone's already sitting at desk number 7. I'm like, whatever. Hey, desk number 12, you're today's winner. I do the same process. Pick up the VoIP phone, I hit *11, enter the hot disk ID, and now calls are coming to me at that desk. Voicemail box, again, created when the user was created. Users can have their own fax boxes if you want them to. Right, you would click enable. Now, you can have a specific phone number, right? You can add from spare or buy a new number, or you can assign it to an extension. Now, if you assign it to extension, you have to find a unique extension or create a unique extension for them. Right, so you enter in the extension number, you hit select extension, or you can search just to make sure it's not already being used. Once you do that, however, it's the person who's faxing, right, they have to fax your main number first. They dial your main number. They have to listen for it, for the greeting, then enter the extension, and then they hit send fax. Right, so not every fax machine will let them do that necessarily, and electronic fax services may also not allow you to do that, which is why typically I recommend just make use of a phone number to go directly to the fax box. Conference bridge. All right, once you have a main conference number, you can enable conferencing on a user. And then you just need to, the conference room number will be, by default, will be the extension number. And then as an admin, you need to create a PIN number for them, and then click on Save Changes. Now, your users will be able to change the PIN number via the user portal. Actually, this is probably not a good user to use with Follow Me. So we'll go over here. So Follow Me is for users with multiple devices. And actually here, let's disable this first so you can see what it looks like at default. So when you enable it, this is what it looks like. So first you have to decide which phone or phones you're going to have the user have or use, right? So then you uncheck those devices. And then now these are sliders. So now you can say, hey, for the entire 120 seconds, right, you're ringing both devices. You can change that to the 60 seconds or 40 seconds. You can also click distribute. And just like in ring groups, right, you can click and drag and change the order. And then click on Save Changes. Music on hold. You can have users have their own unique hold music. Then you just upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. Next up, we've got call recording. Once you enable it, you need to decide which types of calls you're going to record, right? So by default, this is what it looks like when you first enable it. So inbound internal means coworker Bob called me, right? Inbound external means the customer called me. Outbound internal means I called coworker Bob, right? Outbound external means I called a customer back. And then you click on Save Changes, and then those recordings will be under the call recording manager. Just recordings at .virtualpbx.com. And do not disturb just means send callers to voicemail. All right, voicemail boxes shows your voicemail boxes on the account. Right, users have their own, and they're denoted via the user field. You can create your own voicemail boxes here for use with, for instance, your ring groups or your ACD queues. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then you click on Create Voicemail Box. Once you've created the voicemail box, if you click on the little wrench icon under Advanced, you go to Greeting Media. You want to either upload a file to it or you record it over the phone. And that's under the media file. That's the default voicemail greeting that plays. Temporary, if you select a temporary file, this will supersede the media file for instance, when someone's on vacation, right? Or the out of office voicemail message. You can have one selected here. And then once that person is back, you would set the temporary back to none. Recipients, right? For user voicemail boxes, right, they already have one recipient built in. For a manually created voicemail box, you just click on Add Recipient, and then you enter in the email address, and then you click Add, and then Save Changes. So for a manually created voicemail box, once you've added a greeting and a recipient, under Options, you can click on Already Set Up. And you can go through some of these. Now, by default, the system attaches email, right? Attaches messages to email and then deletes after notification. So voicemail boxes on Dash are limited to 100 voicemail messages, right? Once they hit that and someone tries to leave a message, they get an error message saying voicemail box is full, please try again later. So by having the attach to email and delete after notification, you don't have to worry about it, right? Because now the system that voicemail box won't get full because it's sending the voicemail to an email address you've already selected, and then it deletes it automatically. Now, if your staff members prefer to log in either through the portal or over the phone to check their messages, and they'll delete them themselves, then you can obviously uncheck delete after notification. Or if you don't want them to have the voicemail via email, you can also remove the unchecked attached to messages to email. All right, advanced routing. This is typically for our migrated customers, at least currently. All right, so here I've got direct inward system access. What this does is allows a cell phone or landline user to call into your system, basically log in over the phone, and then they can make an outbound call. So what you want to do is you have a PIN number, you probably want to add an extension number, click on Save Changes. So now your cell phone or landline user calls your main number, right, goes to the virtual receptionist. They enter in the extension number. Then the system will prompt them to enter the PIN number. Then they'll hear dial tone. At that point, they can enter the area code and phone number that they want to call out to. Right, then they call out. Now, on that outbound call, the caller ID that shows up won't be their cell phone number, but your main number, right, that we have under here. Or if we go back to the caller ID, right, this is the caller ID that shows up on that outbound call. For newly signed up customers, if you want this feature enabled, you are going to need to send in a request to our support team, support@virtualpbx.com. It's not enabled by default on new accounts just because there is concern for fraud, right? So if someone is able to figure out the extension number and PIN number, they can make outbound calls on your account without you knowing about it right away. This feature was enabled for our migrated customers because that's a feature that they had on the console that some of them were making use of regularly. Also for our migrated customers, this would note if you have a select route or you had auto route rules that did not block numbers. All right, call logs. This shows the call activity on the account. A green arrow to the right is an inbound call. Right, you can click on the call to see if there's some more information about like what devices it ran and went to. If we click on this month, we'll see there's more calls. And then we have this yellow arrow to the left is an outbound call that went out from this test device. The little fire hydrant here icon lets you report the call. It'll create an email. It will have the technical details of the call. In this email addressed to our support team, right? So support@virtualpbx.com. In the body of that email, I would advise that you type in what you experienced or didn't experience about that call, right? So like, this call says it came into my user, but my phone's never rang, right? That sort of thing, just to give an idea of what is going on. And you can also download these files as a CSV file. Feature codes, I've already alluded to a couple of these, but these are basically dial pad shortcuts on your VoIP phones that you can use to access features, right? So for instance, here are the call forwarding related ones. These are also available on our website, so you don't have to log in every time to view the feature codes. All right, let's go up here. Now, so we've been on dashboard. Next up we've got over here is ACD queues. ACD stands for automatic call distribution. It's a call center feature. These are essentially more advanced versions of the ring groups. Now you can click add on new queue to create a new queue. Oh, you're still starting up. Now, while that's going on, we'll go to the members page here. And then you would click on manage members. So the list on the left, these are staff members who are not able to be in queues, right? They haven't been associated with queues at all. Members on the right, these are people who can get into a queue, and hopefully you've assigned to a specific queue. If you want to move someone over, you just click on their name, and then click on the little green add as members. And now Gene's over here in this list. So once you've added members, you go back to the queues and hopefully they'll start up or not. So we can just add a new queue. Not sure why a character got dropped out of there. Queues can have either an extension number or a phone number. Let's buy a new number here. And now we're going over to the configurations. So you've got routing options. Unfortunately, the pull down isn't working here, but so round robin will equalize out over time. You have ring all, which will ring everybody at the same time. You have most idle, so whoever's been waiting the longest for a call gets the next call that comes in. Then you've got least offered. Basically, whoever has the least amount of offered calls gets the next call that comes in. So let's say Bob and Mary are both in the queue. Bob's been offered 20 calls. Mary's been offered 5 calls. Under least offered, Mary gets the next call that comes in. And then there's also least calls, right? Least amount of connected calls. So in that 20 and 5 option there for Bob and Mary, right? So let's say Bob has been offered 20 calls, but he's only connected with 2, right? Whereas Mary's been offered 5 and she's spoken to all 5. Under least calls, the next call that comes in goes to Bob. All right, hold treatment. Again, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. One thing, there's also ACDQs Pro, and the hold treatment on ACDQs Pro, you can have things like announce the wait time, announce their position in line. You can have multiple music files play, right? So you can have one file play, say, oh, your expected wait time is this. Have a second music file play. Your position in line is this. Have another music file play. And that music file, you can have a combination of script and music if you wanted. Queue timeout in seconds. This is how much time the inbound caller can wait on hold. The queue call limit, you can limit the number of callers in the queue. And if you have 0, that means there's no limit. You can time out immediately if empty. This means if you have no staff members logged in and a call happens to come into that queue, the system will treat it as if they've already hit this 3,600 second timeout. Right. Escalation queue basically means if your staff members are all busy on a call, the system will then send the inbound callers to a second queue so that someone can help them. And then escalation call flow after timeout. So after that 3,600 seconds has elapsed, where do you want to send the caller? And you can send it to devices, you can send it to groups, you can send it to the directory, you can send it to a user, you can have a media file play, but typically you're going to want to send it to a voicemail. Use the most common thing. Now, one thing to keep in mind is even if you have a call go to an escalation queue, since the call originated in this queue we're setting up, this 3,600 second timeout is still in play. So all my staff members are busy, calls come in, then they get sent to this escalation queue. After 3,600 seconds elapses from they first came into this first queue, right? Then that caller would go to my escalation timeout. It doesn't matter what settings I have on that second queue. All right, let's go to the agent settings. Agent recovery time, you can input the number of seconds the system will give a staff member after they've finished with the call before the system will offer them a second call from the queue. Force away on rejected or missed, it means as a staff member misses a call, the system will put them on away mode until they make themselves ready. And then agent connect timeout is how much time the system tries to reach that person or that agent. So queues and Queues Pro, currently you can only receive calls on a VoIP device. So typically 20 seconds is plenty of time. But then you would click on create queue. And and it's not letting me scroll down to the queue. Well, I do apologize for this. I'm not sure what's going on with these queues. You're probably going to want to look at the training session we had from 2 weeks ago. Right, so that would be from January 5th to where I talked about assigning staff members to a specific queue. Again, I do apologize. All right, let's go over to blacklists. Blacklists, basically you click on edit blacklists here. You either add to create a new list or you choose an existing list. But what this does is allows you to block callers from specific phone numbers from contacting your system. Right, so when you create a list, you give it a new name. Block anonymous, if you turn this on, that means if we don't get valid inbound caller ID, we're going to block that call. But then you put in, you click on add number, you put +1 area code and phone number for every phone number that you want to block. And then you just keep clicking add. When you're done, you click on save. You go back to settings, and then you make sure that list is over here on the right under selected, and then you click update. So any phone number that's listed in either one of these two lists, when they try to call any of the account phone numbers, right? So any of my main numbers, any of the numbers on my users, my groups, etc., that those phone numbers, when they try to call in, they get a busy tone, so they can't connect. All right, faxes. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account. You can see, okay, here's a fax from the 8th. You can see what phone number it came into, where it went to, the receiving phone number, the pages. You can also download the file. Right, outbound faxes, you can see what went out. And you also have the email to fax logs, which if there's anything here, over here on the right, there's a little eyeball icon, and that will give you additional information about why the fax didn't go out, like invalid fax box or no attachment. Monitor, this is a feature available on some plans. Basically allows you to see the status of your staff members. Green meaning they're waiting for a call. Blue, they're on an inbound call. Red means they've marked away. Yellow, they're on an external call. Gold means they're on wrap-up time from a queue call. Number manager takes you back to your numbers page. Recording manager takes you to where your call recording, which is just recordings.virtualpbx.com. Reports is currently in beta. This is advanced reporting, so you can create your own reports based off of call logs. If that's something you're interested in, you want to talk to our account services team, and they can talk to you about the plans that's included on and or what the additional costs may be. Voicemails. Again, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account, and you can see if they have any messages. You can play them back, you can download them, you can delete them, especially if a voicemail box is full. Webhooks, that's making use of APIs to link Dash to other software. If that's something you're interested in, you want to talk to our sales team, as they have some qualifying info they need. And you can also see what's been done, or examples of what's been done, via developer.virtualpbx.com. And then over here is user portal. So every user on your account has their own user portal that they can access. They can view their own voicemails, play them back and listen to them. This is assuming you don't have delete after notification enabled. Right, you can see the call history, so calls to and from themselves, like who they've called or who's calling them. any faxes that they've made or received. The contact list, this is the other users and groups on the account, right, as well as queues, etc. This is not something a user can add to themselves, right? So like your salespeople wouldn't be able to add their client list to this contact list. This is only within your Dash account. All right, the conference tab. Over here on the right, this is where your staff members can adjust their PIN numbers, as well as adjust if people come in muted or deafened, as well as playing an entry and exit tone. Over here, you can invite people to a conference, right? Other Dash users. You can lock conference. You can mute everybody, unmute everybody, and end the call. When you're actually in a conference, you can actually mute a specific participant as well as kick a specific participant. All right, settings and devices. So here, your users can set up their own call forwarding. Right? They would just put a check mark here, enter in the +1 area code and phone number, as well as these other options. They can also turn it off if they want to, as well as see a status of their own devices. And let's go back to the dashboard, as that's pretty much everything. I haven't seen any chat questions come through, but I'll wait around for a minute or so, see if anyone does have any questions. And if you don't, then I thank you for your time today. All right, not seeing any chats come through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for your time today, and hope you have a wonderful day.